Hello, good morning. Happy Thursday. Let's see. We are continuing to write the article for handling errors in Axum and Rust. And looks like we had just left off. We transform the error from the can fail result into the type of error that a route handler is expecting. So we can use, okay, so we're basically at the map error method. Okay. Trying to use my keyboard and I was on a browser on the other window. So I guess it helps if we have focus on a window. All right, so want to do Rust. All right, where did this go? So, okay, so it's, you go into cache, cargo temp, we go into here. This does not have the delete at the end. To delete. Okay, so I could put this back in and it would, I think, delete it as soon as I exit this, maybe? Sheriff, hello. How are you doing today? Good morning. Could I please share editor config files with you? Yes. So I spent a little bit of time, and I got that set up. So for editor itself, we have Helix. So there's a link to a GitHub repo that has the Helix related config. So I have, I believe, the .helix config file and the language file that I'm using. Is that it? I also have Zellige, ZSH, and Alacrity too. But those aren't really related to the editor. And then if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. It's always interesting, sort of like reaching the end of summer, moving into fall. The weather starts getting colder, and it starts getting a little bit harder to wake up in the morning because it's like so dark and it's cold, and it's just nice to stay in bed. But I'm also happy to come hang out with you all. All right, so I convert this over. All right, so we're going to return a tuple type with a status code of internal server error. And then in this case, I can return the error, which is a string. So this is in the cache. Cargo temp, and there's only one directory in there. Okay, perfect. Okay, so I run you. Where's my mouse? We actually get that 500 internal error. I get that error logged out, and we get the I always fail. Perfect. Hey, Zilby. Welcome. I'm in my standing desk configuration today. So Zilby's actually technically below us, so I might be able to. Hey, you want to look at this? I didn't mean to hit you with the cable. Okay. Okay, we can do cat cam now. As long as nothing pulls on this cable, then this camera is gonna be fine, and it's not gonna fall off the table. But okay, so we have our pub async function. We panic. We return that result. We've updated the can fail call. Instead of unwrapping, we now map the error, which then adds in that question mark. Okay, yeah, so we return the result. We'll do this with map arrow instead. And then I think... Oh, create a custom Eyre struct. So this will be the last part is, what if we want to create a custom Eyre struct here? Can I explain async functions or refer you to a good resource that goes in deep? Let's see. I want to say that John who did a stream on that. Let me see if I could find it on YouTube. I know he did some stuff about async, but whether or not it's exactly what you're looking for, I'm not completely sure. So let's see, we want... Yeah, this is... Okay advertisements. All right, not logged into YouTube, so I get lots of advertisements. Skip ads. Oh, this is back when he had the llama. Okay, so this is the video that John Gangshet, which I constantly mispronounce incorrectly, so sorry, John. From his Crust of Rust series. If you haven't seen them, he does a very deep dive into some very specific technology. So in this case, he goes into a deep dive into async await, and then I believe manually implements a runner for async await, to sort of like let you understand what's really going on behind the scenes. So this is a great sort of video to look through. It can get really in depth. So this is going to be that deepness that you want. There's a link to that. The other resource that I would recommend looking into, but this is a little bit more specific to Tokyo. There's a Tokyo book. This has a full tutorial on async await and basically just doing async type stuff. Also highly recommended. But then again, this one is specific for Tokyo. Now, as you notice with Axum, we are doing a lot of async code. What's interesting with Axum, though, is that because it's part of Tokyo, you sort of like set things up, but you don't really need to understand how it works to use it. It just sort of works. It just does what you want it to do, which is great. And I have some like understanding, or I have like a mental model of how async await works. I'm not 100% sure that I'm correct on that mental model. I would probably, after this, like I wouldn't want to do a course on it right now. I probably want to like really dive deep myself and get into it before I would like create a course on async await, or attempt to like explain it really well. But maybe that's a future project of some kind. Twisted Seed, hello. How are you doing today? Let's see. So I can't actually call this Eyre because I need that for something else. So I would want to call this some. What would I want to call this? Perhaps error response. Something like that, and you get changed into error response. Xanax, hello. How are you doing today? Don't worry about it, Xanax. It's a it's a bit much to expect that everybody can catch every single stream. Like I am doing these every day, or every weekday at least. Great. Okay, so there's this. Grab you. I'm surprised. Why didn't this copy the oh, because I didn't actually copy it, that's why. I think I just did Y, not space Y. No. There it goes. Okay, that's what I was expecting. Is that that return in the middle there. Okay, return the tuple status code string is a good start, but it can get really annoying to have to write that out for every route handler. We could create a type alias with type Eyre response equals status code equals string, but this doesn't. This still doesn't. Address the core problem. We're replicating. We're replicating a lot of code in a way that will be more painful if we need to change how the API responds. This 3.3JS is not really bad. You're focusing on making a stunning portfolio. Nice. Yeah, I've not used 3.js myself, but I've seen people use it in the past, and they made really interesting looking stuff. I think one of the most interesting ones that I remember seeing, there was an artist who had she had a Wacom tablet, and she found a way to record her signature. So she basically signed into a drawing application, and then she it recorded the, I guess, like the points of the signature, so it was like, in cursive, and then she used 3JS to animate it, so as if she was signing it, and then put that on her website. So it loads the website, and then it loads her signature as if she was signing it right then, for the person who is looking at it. That was really nifty. Specifically, she added that into all of her presentations whenever she did that. Any. All right, we can fix this with. What can we fix this with? An Eyre struct. So this will be an Eyre struct. Now, does it have to be an Eyre struct? It doesn't have to be. Oh, you saw something similar with SVG? Yeah, I remember watching a talk by Sarah Drasner, who does a lot of really cool animations with SVGs, and also just a lot of really cool styling stuff. She had done, not with a signature, but she had done some animations of text, which is really cool. I think she also did non-text using SVGs too. There's some, I don't remember what it was. I just remember being really, really impressed with it. All right, let's actually implement an error struct and then verify that it's what will work for us. So do I want it to be an error struct or do I want to use this error? Also, did I see this error out of here? No, okay. There's a module named private. If I try, yeah, that's cool. Well, that's nice. That the private module is actually public, which means that you can still see it from the outside. Okay, so if I want to use this error to create an error enum, and then that could potentially work. I would still want to use Eyre. Do I have... I do not have this error. And I should update this to add this error if this works. All right, so we are going to derive error, but this has to be from... It's going to come from this error. All right, so the error in this specific case would be like error with message. I'm not sure what to say. And then you can be a string in here. Actually, I could do a static str, can't I? Is it error? It's like error. It's been a while since I've used. Well, I mean, I guess it's not been that long since I've used this. I just forgot how to use this. All right, error. I think then it just gives it a message like that, or is it like that? We're gonna have to go look it up. Okay, so it's a function type. So error like that, and then we can put in the message, so we can just say error I mean, I guess I could just even put in something like this where it's 0. Must also implement debug. Okay, that's fine. What are you upset about? Mismatched types. Oh, because the bail should find. Okay, I'll add an okay. Oh, because I accidentally removed the bail. There we go. Okay. Now you're upset you're not being called. That's fine. So let's say that instead of this bail, we're now going to change you to be error with message. So we're going to do a error. I think I can just call API error with message, and this is like, really, I do always fail. And then I think I have to do an into on this, right? If I don't include the into, I think it fails. Yeah. So I do an into. That makes that happy. Now I want to make it so that this API error can return out of here. So I want to be able to say that this is an API error. So if I do that, we can get rid of you. I don't need this map error at all. Whoa, stop. Okay, so you're upset. Couldn't convert to routes errors API error. The question mark operator implicitly performs a conversion. Using the from trait. Oh, because it's not an API error, is it? It's a result. No, it's a report. I think it's a report. Okay. Which that's a bit rougher. Yeah, so okay. If we inspect can fail. Yeah, so it returns an error result. If we take a look at an error result, this is specifically saying that we are getting couldn't convert this error to routes errors API error. The question mark operator implicitly performs a conversion on the error by using the from trait. The following other types implement trait, which I love the fact that there's a yeet trait. That's just so great. I don't think I can implement something for result, like a from for the two different things, can I? That'd be really cool, but I don't think I can. I don't think I can do something like impl from report. Yeah, impl from report for what is it called? Result. With like that being T. So first of all, can I find T in this scope? So if I add you in, can I find report in the scope? Okay, let's add in. Ooh. enum takes two generic arguments. Wait, which error are we thinking we are? Is error port a This might be error port then. Enum takes two generic arguments, but one. So I don't know, like okay error. This would be like okay and error, and then we would need okay and error. Only traits defined in the current crate can be implemented for types defined outside of the crate. Yeah, okay, so I can't do that. I need to create a wrapper type that wraps around this. So I could still if I return an error still, I return an error object that implements into response. And then that gives me what I want it to do. But I don't think I can do that with this API error. Let's find out. So if I do an impl into response, we can then return this. Okay, this will be, we'll match self. Okay, error with message, message stir. What do I want to do with this? I want to probably just extract the message. I could also imagine that this being something like okay, so it's a tuple type. So what if I do something like code? So you're a static stir there and you're a U8 to begin with. But maybe you're like a status code and a static stir. So then here I'm saying, okay, you're a status code, internal server error, you're that. Now I have access to you. Okay, destructure you out. So we have the code with the message. And then I want to, I could return directly out of here with this. Or we could, it probably makes more sense to return the code and message than return it all in once at the end. I don't know. Because I could also just say here, okay, here we're going to return code and message. And then at the end here, we're going to do an into response. And so if I do that, that allows me to turn this API error. You still can't convert, right? because we still can't convert at this point in time. So I wonder if it would make sense for us not to use error then, and then return this API error directly. So if we say, okay, let's get rid of hold on, did I mess that up? I think I like got the wrong type of result for a second. Okay. So that's an error result, which is a report, and a report can't turn into API error, but maybe maybe I don't need to do this. Okay, let's try something else then. If I create a struct, so if I create a struct that doesn't have anything with it, maybe because it's going to be passed in, I'm not sure. I want to do a error response, and you're just sitting here like that. So if I do an impl from or a report, error response, okay, so from this go to that, oh, I probably want to store on a store like the message. So this would be like a code and a message. And by code, you can't do that. What am I doing? We're working with types here. We're going to go with the status code. And the message is going to be probably a string. So I would get this. I wouldn't get the error with the message, would I? I would get this. Like the message itself, which was now would be 1. I don't know if I can. What can I get out of this? So I can wrap error. So create a new error. I can downcast the error object to a concrete type. So that API error implements debug. Can I get access to that? So can I downcast? Okay. So can I downcast ref? Actually, I probably want to. I probably just want to crash that. So let's get access to it. So this is going to be our downcast error. So our error. If I downcast, you give me a result with a report. So that's not what I want. I can get you, unwrap you. We can debug what this error is. And then we can self. I bet I need to tell it what it is, right? So let's just say internal server error, and that'll make you happy temporarily. Type annotations needed. Okay, so downcast ref. Can I say that your type is going to be an API error? I mean, that might just work, in which case then I have access to everything. Let's see if you do the thing. You do have that, so it can't. We'll change this to be an unwrap again. Okay. Could not compile. What's the problem? The trait bound center future is not satisfied. Okay, so hold on. Your oh, it doesn't like this API error. So let's not worry about this right now. We'll just say if you error, we'll do the allies. Okay, that compiles. I'm wanting to see some stuff printed out here, so let's. Panicked at called at result unwrap on error value. Really, I always fail. Did I get my debug printed out? Up here. I have this. Oh, because I have this error response. I guess I could downcast it in the route handler. And return that, but that doesn't seem right. If I want to put sort of like fun stuff like that, I should probably put it in here. I don't think I'm ever calling this, am I? Error response. So when do I create that? Okay, so I'm creating the error with a message. I'm returning the error. I can do a from to this. Like I feel like I'm always getting I'm always like having to map the error at some point in time in here, which I'm not super thrilled about. If I do like an into on this, that gives me, okay, so it gives me a result. Returns the result is okay. Otherwise returns the error and the value. I guess it just lets me do more stuff on it, but that's not really helpful, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think any of this is helpful. Wait, where did that come from? Okay, so I have this error response. I want to turn the error response from the result. I don't think I can do like an into on this. So like if I do something like I want an error response. I'm gonna guess it could do a full response type, but I don't. I've tried that before, and we've had trouble with that too. So then, like, I don't think I can do this. Type annotations needed. So if I into we're gonna have to map the error. We'd have to map the error. And we can do into on it, but I don't think we can get away with this. So we have to map the error. We can do into like that. Type annotations needed. Okay, so I want to go to this error response here. So I can do from for that. Multiple impulse satisfying routes, errors, error response from. Really? Okay. This airport taken. Can I give you the specific type? That's that's not a generic. That's the type. Okay, fine. It doesn't like that. Can I specifically use the Eyre response into for this? Like that? I suppose I might be able to implement something more specific, but I don't think that I don't think this is going the direction I want to go in anyways, because I was hoping to be able to avoid map error. Unless I have to like wrap the entire result in its own struct. And then basically handle like a response that way. So that might be what we have to do. So if I do something like let's say we have an API response, which means that we have now I could throw this string and the other stuff into it. I don't know how helpful that would be either. Okay, so if I do a struct like that, and I say, okay, this is what we're returning. Oh, but then that won't work. Because API response would have to return a result with the two different things. So like, I feel like breaking out into two different sides is the way to go, but I wonder then if I don't want, okay, so if I don't implement this type of this error, so if we say, okay, we're returning just a result, so you can be nothing, or you can be an API error, let's say. Let's go back to this. With API error, we're returning an error. With that, I don't think I need to do an into anymore. I think that just works. I kind of do need to tell you what I'm returning though. So now you're returning a result with that for success, and for failure, you're getting an API error. And so now instead of a map error, we get you there. Okay. You're not upset, and I don't know why. I would have assumed that should have. Oh, is it because it turns in? Okay, I'm curious now what this means. All right. You are failing to compile. Hold on. You are failing to compile. Okay. Oh, I know why. You're failing to compile because you are not returning the right thing. So now we implement into response. Hey, Xanax. This is all fun. This is all part of making sure I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Okay, so we get this error with a message. I have access to the status code and the static stir. Which this is making me wonder if I even really need an enum for API error, or if I want a struct for it. I might want to custom create an error, not even with this error. You really want the kinetic keyboard, but you already have a full build from Alienware. Kinetic keyboard, that sounds familiar. I'm familiar with Kinesis keyboards. I don't know if I'm familiar with kinetic keyboards. Okay, so what if we change the error to be a struct and then we implement into response for that? So hold on, let's change all of this now. So let's do a struct API error. We'll have a code, which is a status code, and we'll have a message, which is a I want to say a static string, but I think it'll just be easier to make it a string. For an API error, we can probably create a new function that's going to make it easier. So if I do new, we take in a message. So that's a stir. Okay, so I into that, and then you're happy. So now here in can fail, I want to turn an error. I can API error, change this to a new, and we replace that with the message. And that's great. So that you start, everything by default is a 500. It's impressive I'm not using Google or ChatGPT for coding. I've not found ChatGPT very helpful for my style. It's like super wordy and like having to read through it, it just is super slow. Google also, it like leads to a lot of unknown stuff. So instead, I try to go more towards documentation, like the actual like documentation from people that are there. Then Google is there for like errors, right? Like, okay, I don't know what this error is. Let's Google the error and see if we can find any blog posts or something that creates that. You believe I am rich, guy? I don't think so. I don't think it's rich like that. This also forces me to learn it really well. And like if I want to teach this, then like this is one of my like magic tricks that I do to like force myself to like be able to like actually understand this a lot better, to like get into it. Because once I solve this, I'll have a better understanding about how things work, as opposed to just, oh, I copied pasted an answer and I don't know why it works, but it works. Okay, so API care, so we do this, everything's working. Library is still upset. Okay, so API error, I create that. I want to question mark this, then we're now going to impl into response for API error. Now, in this case, it's going to be slightly different. I just want to straight up return a tuple. We're going to have self.code and then self.message, and we'll do an into response on this. So that's nice. So now you're upset. Oh, API error is private, so you need to be public. Okay, no more errors. And that successfully compiled. So can I, nope, that's not what I wanted. I wanted you. Can I get this out? Yeah, really, I do always fail. So we get the error out. Okay, so this is a good sign. We're doing a little bit better now. So we have created a custom error. Now this isn't a real error, so to do that, let's impl error on it. So standard error for API error. Does not implement display. Okay, so we need to implement display for this too. Implement display for API error. And in here, I think that I just want to put in the message. I don't think I want to put in anything else. So we're just going to go with that. And return you. Okay. You need to implement debug. We can do that fairly easily. All right, no errors now. Let's change our error. So we have really, I do always fail. Let's just add like a bang after that. We'll add 3 of them. Okay, so you're compiled. So if I hit you again, we get really, I do always fail. Okay, excellent. Then I want to have a way for us to change the code. So we can do builder pattern a little bit here. So by default, the code is a 500. So we can have a pub function like set code, which then takes in a mute self. No, I probably want to take in not a mutable reference to self, a mute self, and a code, which is going to be a status code. Okay. You're going to return a self. We'll do self.code. It's equal to code. and then we'll return self. This allows us to come here now and say, in can fail, have this API error new. We set the code to be, let's say, I don't know, a 400 or so. This would be status code bad request. And then that should just work now. So we should get a 400 instead of a 500. So I like this a lot more than like a mega single struct to return everything. So now I have an API error everywhere that I can just return. We can set the code to have like a code, a message in here. If I don't want this to be like a string, I can send like I could return JSON, and then I can construct that whenever I do my into response. So then it just becomes whatever I feel like. So it gathers all the data together that we put into this, and then we go from there. Now, if I want also the trace for this, because like right now I'm not really getting a good trace. When I call you this, that won't like print out a debug trace. How do I want to handle that? When I create new, I mean, I could potentially tracing emit. Out an error event that we've created this error. You know what? I almost feel like I would want a method on here so I can optionally add in a trace. So pub function like print trace. I don't know if that's actually what I really want. So take ownership of self. Well, but I haven't created the error. I haven't created it yet. But I could do something like this. So let error equals that. We are going to return the error here, and then in the meantime, can I debug a reference to the error? This won't print the trace out, will it? Not really. It won't print out the trace. So can I get the trace? Like those are not used anymore. Oh, what's the method you use? Okay, so we have code, we have the message. Those are the two things on there. There's a way. There must be a way to get it. All right. This is when I would like potentially turn to debugging. Maybe right before then, we can go take a look at the error object. So I want to take a look at errors, not in you. I'll take a look at Rustlang documentation, not the book. Standard library. I want to see if there is something obvious in here for printing out the trace. Errors must describe themselves through the display and debug traits. Error messages are typically concise lowercase sentences without trailing punctuation. Okay, so if I do display, so if I just display this, I think I tried that. Oh, but debug is not display. Debug is not display. I probably want to format this. Something like that. That didn't give me that. If I debug format it, does it give me to me? Not really. That's just debug of the struct. So that doesn't give me the error. Now we have source description, cause, and provide. Provide is nightly only. Wait, so source might be it? Let's try source. Demoroy, hello. How are you doing today? Oh, there's no error source as far as it's concerned. It's not what I want. Coding Cafe, hello, good morning. How are you doing today? You have the toString because you implemented display, but not sure if you're looking for something else. And I'm looking for the stack trace. So I can get the message, fine. So I get the message out here, and then I can also get the message out pretty easily printed out. I was hoping for like the stack trace where it's like, okay, at like this line and, you know, put in like the backtrace or whatever dot 1 equals 1, and then you can get more. But because I'm handling it, I don't get that. Now if I completely just like let it go through, that's gonna be fine. I don't know, maybe this is fine, maybe I don't need that. Because if I just do that, we don't do anything special. Yes, I know, don't worry about that, Flippy. It's okay. So I'm questioning mark here. We're turning into API error, but it's like a different type of thing. If I replace you with the unwrap again, this will cause this. I believe we should get a stack trace out of. Yeah, so we get the back trace out of here. So we say, okay, we called the unwrap on this, so we get that. But yeah, I don't want to do an unwrap. Also, hello, Andrew. How are you doing today? So what I would like is to be able to get a backtrace, print it out to the console here without sending it to the response. So basically, I just send the message out. I just send the code out, but then this I can print out to essentially the log. That's what I would like to do, because then if I set Rust backtrace equals 1, it'd be nice to like see all of that stuff without then having to like trace it through myself. I don't know. That may not be something we want to necessarily do, because if I just do this here, it's handled just fine, and there's no logs whatsoever because you're okay. Now I could say, we've got this log here, so I can do a tracing error. Pass it in error. You be happy with that? No, you want an actual string. So this puts in, okay, so we get the error that and the message, but not the internal message. I suppose I could do this struct can store more than like what happens. Like I can do something like, okay, we have like this is the public message. But then we can like store a like private message in here too, like the log message. And then that would be whatever error type is passed into me, I keep that message so I can just print that out. Maybe that's what I would do there. I don't know. Let's see. So I get if I do debug type, don't think that changes anything. I mean, okay, that just gives me a debug of that API error. What's something that I can do that would create a result that's not mine? What's another function we can call? Most of those are options, right? Most of the things I'm thinking of are options. If I want like a sum, if I want to do something like 1 Most of you are going to be just numbers or options or something else. We could try into. So if I try into the compiler is going to catch this, isn't it? The compiler is going to catch it. So if I tell you to try into like something dynamic, like, or I guess like a string, it will work. It'll work to go into a string. What's a, okay, we can go to a U8. I can try into a U8 from a I64 max. That should fail, right? But it could succeed. So therefore I could do the try into. And this point, I want to map Eyre. So we've moved the map error from like the route handler to like each individual function to handle that there. Okay, so I get the error here. And I want to now create an API error. We do new, and this could be, there was an error. There was an error. We can set the code of that is okay. And question mark you, okay? Uh-oh. Okay, so let so like I don't know, small, which is gonna be U8 equals to U. All right. Yes, I know. You're never gonna be used. You always fail. I don't do anything with you. So I potentially want to take this error and then add it into a message here. So we have that message, and then we have internal message, which is also going to be a string. I need to create a builder for this. Oh, we could do this as like log message. That could be interesting. I could do this as log, like log error, log real error. I could do it with something that implements error. So we can take the error, and we can say like, hey, you must impl an error type. We can toString you to set that, then return self here. You would be an internal message. I don't know if I like this. All right, it's just experiment time. It's okay if it's not great. We map you. No, wait, we map. Oh no, can't fail. Okay, so map error. So we map you. So we set internal message and we pass it this error. I mean, so you're okay. But I don't know what to do with this yet. I don't know what to do with this anymore. So I have into response. Oh, but that says that message out. So display can now display the internal message. How many years have I been using Crab? I believe since 2018. So 5 years? That's how long I've been sort of like playing around, learning, and then using Rust. Okay, so then this should... Okay, so that implements display there, and so when I create a new one, now I can't... Tracing error won't work anymore. Not there, because I want to display the error after it's created and we store the error. I can't do something impulse error. I have to like then store it in a box, don't I? And you can't be dying. I have to box this up. Oh, it can wait. I can dine that? Required because it... Wait, what? Oh, yeah, okay. So, but then what I could say is I could say on a box. Okay, so you're going to store that away. But then because I don't have you right away, let's probably put you in an option just in case I don't get you. So we have an option box diner, which means you could be a none now. You have to be a sum, but we could just store the entire error, right? So did the language change a lot since then? It's changed, definitely. I wouldn't say necessarily that it's changed in a fundamental level that changes how you program, but it's certainly become a lot nicer. Like when I first started, there was very little lifetime sort of like elision. So yeah, if you're ever doing something, it's like, okay, you could try to figure out lifetimes, but it didn't really change that much. So I would say the biggest best practice has sort of like really improved since then is lifetime type stuff. It's like if the compiler is not auto detecting lifetimes, then what you're probably working on is some type of you're probably doing something that would be an optimization. And if that's not what you want to be doing, then that's a hint that you might be pre-optimizing by accident. And so just, okay, just clone things everywhere. Like, are you really sure that you need to optimize in that way? Like maybe you don't maybe a clone's not as expensive as you think that it is. It's like I think that's a big thing. The module system was even more of a nightmare. So like right now it can be really confusing using modules. Back then it was way harder to sort of like set things up. It's like, okay, we're going to use extern crate and do that everywhere. Macros, like I want to use a macro. Okay, well, I have to use a keyword to tell it macros are going to be used. Little things like that. So basically things have become nicer. And of course there was a method, like half the time it's like, I want to use that method. Oh no, it's in nightly. So you can't actually do half the stuff that you wanted to do. So I guess like it's it's not necessarily that the coding practices and best and conventions have changed. It's more of like it just became nicer and easier. Oh, one big huge thing. Back then, Rust Analyzer didn't exist, or if it did, it wasn't. It wasn't the prime time one. It was RLS was the thing that you used, and so it was like okay, RLS is what you use. It was like it kind of works. It works a lot better in macros. Rust Analyzer came out, and almost overnight, everybody started switching to it. But it wasn't the recommended version. The recommended version was RLS still. So a lot of people were like, well, I'm getting these like really not great. Like, how are you getting like these type hints that are like helpful? It's like, well, use Rust Analyzer. It's like, well, that's not what their language suggests. The official language one in VS Code and everywhere else is RLS. So basically a lot of that happened. Rust took a little bit of like it slowed down a little bit as it had to do some legal stuff after being given away by being turned into its own thing by Mozilla. It's attracted a lot of attention for good and bad. I don't know, like I still feel the same when programming with it. Oh, okay, the number of libraries and frameworks have exploded. Doing web development in before 2020 was a nightmare in Rust. Like you just didn't do it. It sucked. But now it's awesome. Now it's amazing. There's so many good things that are happening. So yeah, basically just having more people coding with it makes it helpful. What did I do to this? How did I change that? Okay, that was weird. Mismatch types. Okay, yeah, you need to be a sum. Oh, and you need a box. So we need a box new you. Yeah, I've heard of Leptos and Diaxis. Yeah. Leptos, Diaxis, they've changed the game completely. Before then, you were pretty much writing your own stuff behind the scenes, which wasn't that good. There's still a long way to go for the language. Like documentation is it's interesting because it's a source of pride within the Rust community, the greater community of like, oh yeah, we have great documentation that's built in. But discoverability is really hard. Like if you don't know what you can do or what you're looking for, it's just a slog through the documentation. You're just sort of like reading all the different types of things, and you have no idea what to search for because you don't know what it's called. We don't have like too many tutorials still, and because the language was changing so much since like 2018, 2015, a lot of the stuff, if you Google for things, you may end up with stuff that's like just old, not a good idea to do anymore. It's hard to tell like what exactly those conventions that like essentially those are, but like some of them are like, oh yeah, this method's not available, so like you have to use nightly to use this. It's like, no, you don't, not anymore. Okay, so I did this. Now, where do I want to tracing error this? I create the error. I set the code. Do I want to like do a build type thing? Do you think Rust slows you in competitive programming compared to C++? I don't do competitive programming, so I couldn't answer that question. I've never done competitive programming, so I can't even imagine that. Yash, hello. How are you doing today? So I want to just question mark you. I did this, which, okay, so I map the error, so I set the error and I get this. And then I can question mark you. So I don't need that anymore. Oh, I do need that. So I moved the map error back here, which I think that's okay. Like at some point in time, we have to create this error. And you can't just create, it's not really feasible to do like a from for every type of error because that kind of sucks. Although I could do from for something that implements error, and that could potentially work. But at some point in time, you also really, really, really want to create, you want to set public facing messages in an API like this. And then we have the private message. So I have set error like that. I could do like a create. So I could do a log also. And we could do a build, and that's not really going to do much, right? So we have self, and that returns a self. And then all this is going to do is tracing. So if all this is going to do is tracing that, so let's do like log. Tracing error. Oh, I called this internal message. I probably don't want to do that. I want to change this to internal error, something like that. You don't like that. So I could try to get you out first. Probably like an if let sum. Internal error. Throw you in here. Then we'll just display the error. Okay. You still don't think WASM is for the front end. You think the true feature is backend Go. Feature is what backend Go announced yesterday. They fully support compiling to WASI. Yeah, WASM has been, so WebAssembly has been getting a lot of interest in sort of sending messages and doing some interesting things server to server. And I could see that. I can definitely see that. Also, good morning, Stacking. How are you doing today? Cannot be formatted with default formatter. Don't I have display on it? Oh, wait. No? Box. Okay. So I've got that. Right. Self internal error. Oh, okay. So my display isn't happy. Because you're an option. Right. Because you're an option. Okay. So Will tracing error give you the actual line number or just the line number for that function? Yeah, that's I was really like hoping initially that I can get the line number from like what the original error creation is, but I don't think that I can. I haven't seen a good way to get that. Now I think I can get that through, maybe I can get that through someplace else in Eyre, and then just like create this display for myself. Like error handling in Rust is one of those things where like it feels really good on up right until the point where it's just like, why can't you just give me what I want? And what you want is something that every other language gives you really easily. So for example, in, I don't know, TypeScript, JavaScript, that kind of thing, if I have an error object, so if I thrown a new error, I can just print out I can just console.log the trace. Like that's something you can do. And I believe you can do that in most other languages too. If you have like an error object, then you can get the trace in string form and like put it into a database or put it into a string or log it out or whatever you want to do. You can do that. I don't know. I've had a lot of trouble trying to figure out how to get the trace itself, the back trace, in like manually from an error. I might be able to get it from this error, but you think Lambda will sooner than later start requiring compiling to WASI? The binaries are half the size of Docker, and the cold start is way faster. We should play around with that. It does sound like really interesting to sort of like play with. And I could see Rust being able to compile to it pretty easily. Like I wouldn't be surprised if there's ways to do it right now. You're struggling with the exact same problems at work and you're trying to think of a good solution. Are you talking about for the error thing to get the tracing information? Axum already fully supports WASI. Well, then there we go. We're ready to go. We support the future. Oh, that was one of the big 16 features. Okay. All right. So because you're a string, you suspect part of the reason why tracing log and log info are macros are just to get the line info. We the other day we looked at the output. Okay, yeah, you're talking about the tracing stuff. We were looking at the output of tracing logs, specifically tracing debug to sort of see what it expanded to, and it's a lot. It turns into a lot. Okay, so I have an option here at this point in time. So if it's a nothing, I probably just want to. I mean, okay, so it's a result, but it probably has to be a consistent result. I could just return there is no error. So I could do something like this. If let some, or I guess let's just let some error equals self dot internal error. Otherwise, I want to, okay, we're going to return a write. I mean, we could just do this. Like, there isn't an error. And then you'd have to be an early return. So if we do that, now we have the error out. So then you become, give me the error, but then you're in a box. I wonder how that's going to work. Please use the macro. Am I moving? Cannot move. Okay, that's fine. I don't need to move. May not live long enough. Oh, come on. You'll live long enough. Use a partially moved value. Okay, so log. Oh, yeah, I don't. That's why it's may not live long enough. I don't want to take ownership of you. That's fine. So if I do that, there's still some box new error. Okay, so no. I refuse. Why? Okay, so log. Okay, I'm getting the internal error there. I'm getting, okay, so display for this. I'm getting the internal error. Do I have to like, where am I taking ownership of it? I'm taking self here. If let sum, okay, so I get the box. Do I need to like destructure, dereference that? But then with a, I mean, so that technically works, but you're still upset. The impl error may not live long enough. Why? I'm just like stuffing this into internal error. Can I clone you? Why aren't you living long enough? Where am I? What am I doing with this to cause this not to live long enough? Okay, so it's basically saying that this impl error, it doesn't actually know how long it's going to live. I want to take this, stuff it into a box, put it into internal error. I want to then log this out here. And so I want to now extract this out, get access to you. But I don't want to take ownership of you. Self internal error. I mean, as ref. And then in display, what if I want to do the same thing here? Oh, wait. Did I do this wrong? Oh, wait. This is the else. Never mind. I take out the error here. But that still has the same problem. And I think the big one is you, right? If I remove the log, okay, you're still upset. Is it the display? So if I take you and we just say, I want to write no, you still don't like this. So it's okay. So storing this in an option box in Eyre is not cool. It doesn't like that. I was really hoping that I could just like stuff the Eyre inside of a box and throw it in here. But thinking about this further, okay, so what if I just don't do that? What if I don't store you? You're fine. So then set the Eyre, we don't need you. We have set code. Okay, so now if I want to log this, we take in self and then I take in an Eyre, which implements Eyre, which means I can just do this here. I don't need you anymore. We are going to write instead of Eyre to string. I'm going to do self dot message. This wouldn't be set Eyre anymore. This would be log, and we pass it in the Eyre. And then you're happy. So if we come back to you, so I get the actual Eyre that's printed out. So out of range integral type conversion attempted. And then I get the error that's responded back, which is status code 500 internal server error. And then I get this error printed out here. This might be the best we can get. Notice still there's no line number in this, which sucks. So my solution to this is to suggest that the error messages be unique in some way. We could have like some like special code, but like if we know that this happened. Well, okay. You know that this happened in this route, right? So that makes it pretty simple. We know what happened in this route. We can go to the route handler for that. And then we're going to see the question mark here. And it's like, okay, it must have come out of here. And so we can start tracing backwards. It doesn't mean you're going to get access to what that error instantaneously, but we will be able to find eventually, okay, well, there's that, there was this error here. All right, so, okay, we're logging this error. If I throw the API error into its own module, then it becomes easy to just know across everything, especially once you get used to the entire framework that we're using. We can just say like, okay, we know it logs out with this thing. Oh, like heck, if we don't even have an error, we can just go start adding .logs to where we're creating all the errors. That's the thing that we could do then. So I don't know. I don't like it, but it's something we can do. Sylvie, do you have any suggestions? Any better ways of handling errors? Maybe? No? Okay. He's not helping. He probably knows though. Okay. Let's Okay, returning the tuple is a good start, but it can get really annoying to have to write that out for every route handler. We can create a type alias with type error response equals status code string, but this still doesn't address the core problem. We're replicating a lot of code in a way that will be more painful if we need to change how the API responds with errors. We could fix this with an error struct. And have our functions that can error or that return results instead return this custom error. Let's create this custom error in ToggleBit. Hello, ToggleBit. Thank you so much for the raid. You need to go off and parent. Well, thank you again, and good luck with parenting. I'm assuming you're also starving and you need to eat as well. So, how is W20, hello. How are you doing? How are you doing today? How's ToggleBit's raid? How's your days all going? Did you all get through advertisements or anything else? Did that hit you? Well, regardless, we've been working on a course on Axum, and this course is going to have articles, so written articles. I'm writing that on the left here, and we have code examples, and then I also do video. So I haven't created the video for this specific lesson yet. We're working on custom errors in Axum. And so far, we've sort of like worked our way through very basic errors. So just like returning a string. And we worked into returning a tuple type so we can return custom status codes. And now we're going to be working on returning a custom error struct. So we'll be implementing error manually. I tried to implement this error and use something like Eyre, but I think it was ended up being too not help. Like there's too much sort of like other code you need to do to get that to work, and it was just too annoying. So instead, we're just gonna YOLO it and do it ourselves. So that's what we're building out here. So let's create this custom error in its own module. I am calling it, I guess like API error. So let's actually go do that. So inside of source, we're going to have API error.rs. Now, if I pub mod you, well, I guess I want to do mod API error, and I believe that makes it accessible to everything as a child of library. I don't think I need to pub it. And let's write all. Let's make sure. Did that actually go in here? There it is. It did go in here. Perfect. Sometimes Rust Analyzer has a bad, I assume this is Rust Analyzer, it has a bad habit of when I do like the auto, like put the mod in, it puts it into main, which is not what I ever want it to do. And there's never been a time that I want that to happen. Okay, so API error. We start with a pub struct API error, and we know we want to have a code, which is going to be a status code, which is from there, and we want the external message, so we want the I got user facing message, which can be a string. And what we found is that we can't really store the other error without running into lifetime issues. So we're just not going to. We're just gonna do this. So this is how we start. So let's create this custom error in its own module. I'm calling it API error.rs. So in Rust, throw that in there. Okay. We're storing the status code for storing the status code and a message that we're willing to send back to the caller of the API. Or I guess the user of the API. Let's see. Creating this struct can be not so fun. Can be, what's the right words I want to use here? It's like it's not fun. It's like tedious. It's tedious. So creating this error can be tedious. In the tedious. And since the status code would often be a 500, let's use the builder pattern to like have a default and only set what we really need to. All right, so that means we're going to impl API error. We're going to have a pub function new. We're going to take in a message. I guess what I could call this is the user-facing message. So that way that shows up whenever you use this, so you know, like, hey, this is user-facing message. Stir, return itself. Code. You're gonna be a status code internal server error. We're gonna have code, and the user-facing message is user-facing message, and we can just into that turn it in to a string. Okay. Then let's see what's next. Then okay, so we can now create that. Let's go slow with this, so that way it's like when you're reading through this in the course, it makes it a little bit easier. Okay. What's next? We don't always want. What if we want a we can then add a function to set the status code in the case that this isn't supposed to be a 500 error. So now in here, we're gonna, as part of the impl, so we'll add a function to the API error impl block. Okay, so pub function set code. You'll take a mute self and a code, which is going to be a status code. We'll return to self, and that self dot code equals code and self. Okay, so we've now, we add in set code. There. All right, so we can then add a function to the API error impl block, set the status code in the case that this isn't supposed to be a 500 error. I guess like finally, or I guess there's no finally, because there's still like more to do with this. We want to turn it into a real error too, because that way if we do unwrap it or something, we get a good stack trace out of it. But we'll get to that in a little bit. I want to log the error. We want to have the option of logging the error to the real error. When I have the option of logging the real error to the console, which will help us debug when things go wrong. We'll create a log method that fits into the builder, like the builder methods that takes in an error and logs it with tracing. Okay, so we have pub function set code. So down here, we do pub function, we'll just do log. This will take a self and then an error, which I want to then, this will just be anything that impulls error. We want to return self, so it just fits into that dot. And then we will do a tracing error. We'll use that error module. Actually, I can just do this like that. All right, we need to pull you in, and we need to pull. I'm surprised tracing's not in here, or can be found. Okay, that's fine. So then you like that. Okay, so we now have the option of logging out what this error is. We don't really need a build method for this because we're just constantly returning self. That's just what it is. It's the self. But to make it an actual error, which is helpful, like I guess like Rust doesn't actually care if it implements error or not, but I think it's a good idea. So it's also a good idea to turn our API error into a real error by having it implement the error trait. This is pretty simple. We just do impl error. And we use yes, that trait for API error, and that's it. Londo Spark, hello, good morning. How are you doing? Also, thank you so much for the subscription. 17 months. That's a long time. That is a lot of months. Thank you so much again for the subscription. You're alive? Well, I mean, that is something. That is something. I mean, I'm technically alive here too. I mean, I'm doing okay. It's going. We're making good progress with the Rust course, which I'm happy about, and I'm slowly moving towards figuring out ways to monetize like actual courses that I'm creating, while also still providing value for all of you who don't want to pay, because that's really important to me to like make sure that I don't force all of you out. All right. So I implement this. This will immediately cause Rust cause the compiler to become upset with us. I guess I shouldn't use that, because that might I don't want that kind of like feeling of like, okay, it's not us versus the compiler. The compiler team literally thinks themselves as like a tutoring team. So it's more of like, hey, it immediately caused the compiler to let us know that we're missing some trait implementations to make the error work that are required for the error. Some trait implementations that are required now. So the first one is pretty simple, I believe. Okay, so we need display. We need debug. Is that it? We need display and debug. So we'll need to implement display and let's wrap this. Display and debug. Debug is easy. We can derive it. Okay, so we derive that. Display we can't derive. So we'll need to manually implement display. Display for, I guess we'll just do that. We'll need to manually implement display. Let's go to the end. So impl display, we want to make sure that this is standard format display. Can I do this? No, that's not what I want. I'll do standard format display like that. For API error, implement you. We want to use the, okay, so what do we want to do for this one? This is going to be pretty simple. We actually know what the code is, and we know what the message is. We probably just want to print out what the message is, even though this is not going to be used anywhere, I don't think. So let's just use our write macro, pass it f, and we'll say the message set the user facing message. There we go. Okay. All right, so that's now implementing display. We're back to not having any errors whatsoever. And then the final thing, if I want to return this as an error from Axum, we need to implement into response. Okay, so into response for API error, into response, pretty simple. Once again, I want to return the message and then probably just this string of what that is. So we're gonna say I want a tuple type of self.code, which we know is that status code, and self dot user facing message, which is a string, and we just call into response. That's it. Okay. We have now, okay, so we've implemented into response for this. We are now ready to use. We are now ready to use this this error object, this new error in our code, in our route handlers, or I guess in our code. So let's head. Okay, so you're saved, right? So let's head back to routes errors. I want to delete. This was all part of our experimentation. I want to get rid of all of you. And we need to make changes to can fail. So we're now ready to use this in our code. Let's rewrite can fail to do something that gives us an error, like a real error that we can log. And then return an API error. A really easy way to force an error is to attempt to, I guess, like not cast, like attempt to turn a large integer into a small unsigned integer. We can do this with, all right, so this is going to be a this will the try into will return a result, and in this case it will always be an error. Okay, so we've got that. All right, so with this error, or we can map this error. We map this result to turn it into the API error. Turned into the API error. In the can fail function. That way, the route handler doesn't need to care about the to care about what kind of error is being passed or into it, like what error is being returned. It can just use question mark. Now we show this off. So to make sure that this is still working the way we want it to, let's import that error. You're happy. So let's make this like maybe a little bit more specific. So instead of like there was an error, so user facing message is going to be can, it's not failed, but like attempting to, I guess like there was an error. There was an error. Please try again later. But then we log the real error. Okay, can fail. So result error. I should probably run this. So if I save you, this still works exactly as we expect. So we can say here, out of range integral type conversion attempted as the logged error, but we get the public facing error here in Insomnia, and we also get told exactly what we get, like kind of a trace from tracing. So nice. That's what we want to see. Okay. All right. Can't fail. So got that set up. What else do we need to do? Were we still with a, where were we? So we started writing with that one, but then the last thing that we had before this was, oh, this entire map error. So now in We Panic, okay, so we can finally clean up the We Panic route handler and replace the map error method there with a simple question mark operator. Also, don't forget to set the error return type to API error. Woo, okay, it's a lot. Okay, and we're done. We're now using a centralized error struct that's a real error, and making it so we can trace where errors come from and at the same time keeping good simple errors messages for our users, and as a bonus, our route handlers can remain simplified. Here is the final full code for the errors.rs file. All right, let's clean this up a little bit before we give that. So I need you. Need you. Set code. We don't need. Okay, so we just have that there. That's fine. Let's make this okay. So I'm just going to say allow dead code here. Just that when that one is okay. Okay, then you're fine. So let's write all. Okay, good. You're still running. You're still happy. So we want to, in this route, you are now this. And here is the full code for the API error. What's the name of the file? api.error.rs. Ooh, okay. 281 lines. Or I guess 282 lines. But that's the longest one so far. But I guess we are getting into like slightly more complex topics. So that would make sense there. Okay, cool. So I don't think we need anything else here. This is gonna be a good one. So let's save and well, I mean, we could go through this entire thing. We would have 5 minutes left. I don't have time to do that. I'm thinking I'll save and commit this. Then tomorrow at the beginning of the stream, we'll read through the entire article, make sure that there's no like really glaring, obvious errors in here. And then we'll record the video. So I guess that's we're done with you. So this is like kind of done. So let's mark that. Then we can say for you, I want to just like verify video, like reread article to make sure it's good. And then we'll create the video for it. So didn't get to it today. Unfortunately, I have to take off to my day job pretty soon. So let's see. You're all good. Let's go down here. And did I not save that? I didn't save and quit it. That's what happened. There. Now that shows up there. Perfect. So let's see. I don't really know why when I'm showing the description, it has extra lines down here and it only shows that. Like I would really love for this to be like crunch it down a little bit further. Give me a little bit more space, but I don't know. I'm sort of like thinking of not doing the Zealage sort of like pre-run thing like we have right here where this window is just there. If I exit out of it, it's gone forever. I'm thinking of maybe like just setting it up into a normal shell and then I could just run the command. And that might be what I want to do. So let's see. anything else that I want to do with this? I don't think so. It's pretty close to the end of the stream time, so I think with that we'll go ahead and start winding down. Let's see. Raimu is streaming. Raimu is currently streaming, doing rapier stuff. So Raimu's been making in Rust some simulations, some game dev type things. It looks like a lot of fun. He's been making like a lot of boxes and other things to like that shootout with physics. It's pretty cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and set up a raid for Raimu. Raid for that. In the meantime, all right. So I mentioned that I do these streams every weekday. So I'll be back tomorrow morning around 6 a.m. Mountain Time, and then we go until around this time. That's the plan. We sort of mentioned what we're going to be working on. So if you're interested in that, love to see you here. Otherwise, I will see you all next time, wherever that is. And with that, bye.